Okay, I finally got this thing turned on. What is it? It's Tuesday, the 9th of June, 2015, and this is A&P Massage Therapy Night Class.
Yeah.
This thing works.
I did not know that, Robert.
Okay. So, what do I have up my sleeve? What should I do with my books?
So this is actually a website that Brendan talked about.
You know, I went to look for it today, and it doesn't exist. It directs you to McGill University. So I'm not sure about that.
Well, McGill has got a big medical.
Oh yeah, so it must be where it's out of. In fact, that's what I want to do. Let's see if we can get this thing happening.
But it was just like.
I thought we used it. It's kind of I think it's a little bit too much. I think hers is more specific and easier. Or more. But if you navigate through mine, then ease out the work that comes.
Wow.
No, it's wow. I got the back one.
Coach asked me to make more copies of these muscles, by the way, and I cannot get the photocopier to cooperate with me, so what can I say?
I think it has an attitude.
Or I have no fingerprints or something. I don't know. It doesn't, no matter how hard,
is
no
that
matter
a-
how lightly I touch or how hard I touch, it doesn't respect
Is
me.
that a occupational hazard?
I don't think so, no. My brain notes, Robert. I'm going to try that. I like that. Did you look at that? My brain notes.
Yes, I did. Only for a little bit while I was sending out. Workshop.
Ta-da! Okay. I want to see if we can get pictures.
Yeah.
Okay, I know I shouldn't assume, but folks, have you read The Brain from top to bottom? Anybody?
Just read it. Yeah, I did.
You read it today?
Just now.
Just now.
While you were talking, yes.
That quickly?
Yeah.
Fast readers. Okay.
Well, I almost did. I didn't finish it, but I almost did.
Okay. Anybody else? Have you read this? This is on, I would say, just about everything that's fold face here, and then some will be on. Good question. Why do you have to know this? It's funny. Folks, come on. I texted my daughter, my baby girl, who turns 29 tomorrow, who is a neurosurgeon in New York, right? She's in her third year of residency as a neurosurgeon, so she's finished 5 years of medical school, 4 years of medical school, plus a year off to do research. Anyway, so she's the third year of a 7-year residency. God help her. Not even halfway through. But she's getting paid for it. It's a nice, huh?
She got these.
Yeah, she's amazing. So I texted her and I said I'm lecturing on the brain tonight. Figured she'd definitely be interested. So she wrote back. She wrote, "Cool. What about the brain?" So I thought, oh my God. So I wrote a comprehensive overview, right, which is to a certain extent what you have here. And focusing especially on the prefrontal gyrus motor area. Could spend a year on it, and that's a fact. We could easily spend a year. For all intents and purposes, she's spending 7 years post-medical school, right? So postgraduate on the brain. And the things that go on in there boggles the mind. So I went online, I dug up some illustrations, and there are some great websites out there. And I figured we'd talk about it. So if you have this, we can go over it together. Obviously, I'm not going to read it word for word. Muscles in Job's body, I don't think we'll get to tonight. Yes, Selena? You don't have the bone handout. I might. You mean the brain handout or the bones? The bones? Yesterday.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, this. This is the muscle, right? Okay.
That's a quiz.
Yeah, this is a quiz. Okay, so you have the ID. Okay. And the problem is the muscles handout, I tried to photocopy with no success. Again, somehow or other I'll figure it out. It's an awkward place, and it just I plug in the name, the password, and then I go nowhere. I don't know. It doesn't like me, and I really resent that because I think I'm a fairly likable guy. But it's a machine and doesn't know any better. How do you do what? So, the brain, maybe we should put this up. If I can project this, that might help as well, right? Yeah, right. Yes, no. Auxiliary video. Okay. There we go. Yes, maybe. No. Okay. How do we get this to project? Oh, it is. Is it projecting? No. Yeah. We've got. There's the PC.
Remember Fernando told me.
Oh, PC. Maybe now it's on. Yay. Okay. Why is it off? Okay, yeah, I need a little bit of light to read by. Okay. What? Oh, this would be yes. Yeah, this. You need these. One. Okay, 2 and 3. 2. Okay. 3 should be here. So that gives you the. Now we're not doing.
I just say the same thing. Did you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Bill,
No, the next book.
it's like $30.
Which was that?
$30
The-
and I
What
come
did
back.
we do? We just did.
That's
Does
right.
that match the book?
Was no, don't.
I said it's
The muscle test.
Yes, the joints and the
I
rest.
can't find it on eBay, I can't find
It was
on
this.
eBay.
I don't
What's it called?
know that I have another copy of this.
I did that all day yesterday.
Yeah, wait.
I did
Wait till
Google.
tomorrow.
I goggled it.
Study the muscles of
I goggled it.
the thorax, right? The back, the abdomen, right? The abs. Let's see. What else do we? Let's just get some. This.
Everything that we learned with you yesterday,
Two,
Friday.
no, I tried to and I didn't. I wasn't able to. So, unless there are more over here, which I don't think they are. This happens all. We just don't have enough of them. Yeah, right. Which is what? Okay, let's see.
You wanna see the test I think?
18. One set. Ooh. Yes. Very good for steering.
You got a place?
Look, right here, they're just,
Yeah, we
They need a rooster.
don't have enough
I watched
copies
Magic School Bus.
of muscles. If I can find, but that's what they're
There actually is.
3 or 4 sheets.
I actually pushed on it to my kids because it talks about like.
Of course she has.
Right, let's put that first. No, that's our problem. I don't have enough.
Medulla oblongata. Oblongata. I've had far too much coffee. I apologize.
So what are we studying? The brain. Why do we need to, somebody said, why do we need to know all this? Why do we need to know all this? And what are we focusing on the brain? Aside from the fact that
Command Central, that's why.
Command Central, right? Nothing happens without the brain. Which is not to say that nerves, motor nerves, sensory nerves, and motor nerves going to and from the spinal cord don't happen. They do happen without the brain. But the brain controls, also in a sense controls that autonomic nervous system. You don't have control over when your digestive, when your visceral muscles move, when your pupils dilate, right? Do you have control over that? Do you?
When my pupils dilate?
Yeah, do you have control over that?
No,
No.
only when the eye doctor.
Yeah, the eye doctor has control over that, I
Right.
suppose, if you use a drug.
But that wouldn't be me, right?
What's that?
You can't read when your eyes are dilated.
That's difficult.
I go right to Publix and I'm like, you can't read.
Anyway, there are tons of places online that you can get this information, and I'd highly encourage you to do so. Where is it? The brain from top to bottom, which is the handout that pretty much covers, I gather, everything that Sandra wants you to know. And then, right, you all have this handout, yes? Okay, so let's take a look at it.
Yes.
For some reason, we're starting with this.
Top to bottom.
Right, although it's kind of from bottom to top. We start with the cerebellum. Where's the cerebellum?
Bottom.
Right.
See, I pay attention.
So why don't we call it the brain from bottom to top?
Because I would just not feel
Right.
That sounds.
Okay, but we're going to start at the bottom. Close to the brain stem, right? The spinal cord. Does this show up when I with the hand? Yes, cool.
Right. That makes the point.
It makes the point, literally. Okay, so the cerebellum as opposed to the cerebrum, right? The cerebral hemisphere, right? The higher brain. Let's start at the bottom. It's all, I've given you the website, mybrainnotes.com. Another one is McGill University has, if you look for, what was it, Robert?
The brain from top to
The
bottom.
brain from, yeah, right,
With
the
spaces in
website.
between.
But if you go to the brain from top to bottom,
With spaces in between, it'll send you right to NEA, and NEA will show you McGill University.
Right.
You go directly to McGill University
And
and
that-
talk about it, but it doesn't have this particular handout.
it's not, no, it doesn't have
Not
this
this
handout.
order, but it does have a good explanation.
It's got huge amount of data that gets increasingly complex,
Yeah.
right? So, how much do we need to know? I'll let you know when I see the midterm. Well, from my understanding, she prepares you pretty well by giving you study notes for the midterm.
Yes.
For example, I've got a hold of some possible study notes. I'm not sure if these are the notes. Let's see.
You know, it's funny, this is like a play on words. This is physically, the cerebellum is at the bottom of the brain.
Right, it's,
But in reality, it has more control over overall the muscle tone, the balance.
that's right,
everything. So
without
it's
your
got the
even
top of
thinking
control.
about it.
It's the top of the control level.
Right.
Even though it's the bottom of the brain. So it's the top of the brain.
Yep. Where was it? I was looking ahead. What's the question? Fascicles and muscles are, no. Hang on one sec. Final thing.
Getting hot in here. Take off our shirt.
It's getting hot in here. Is it? Is it warm?
There's just always a song up here.
It's cold in the lab and warm up here. Or when I find... here, for example, there are how many pair of spinal nerves that innervate muscles and other structures are there? So I've come across some questions that would apply to the brain and the spinal cord. Does anybody know how many pairs of spinal nerves we've got?
Spinal nerves, well, how many vertebrae do we have? And we have what on each side of one out, right?
No, it's more than that. How many vertebrae do we have?
7.
7 plus
7,
12.
5 plus 2.
24. Yeah.
24.
The 2. The coccyx. Do you count the coccyx in the sacrum?
No.
No? Do you count the axis?
So it's,
and-
yeah, of course, yeah, that's 7, 12 is,
5,
right?
24.
Yeah.
24. However, there are 31 pair of spinal nerves. Not cranial nerves, spinal nerves, right? With nerve roots, motor nerves, sensory nerves, back and forth to the spine.
31 pair of spinal nerves?
31 pair of spinal
That's
nerves.
because there's a few in the coccyx and a few in the sacrum, as opposed to just.
I don't know exactly why, how that works. No, there's more than, most assuredly, 31 pair.
Oh my god.
Well, maybe there's a branch.
Let's see if, here.
Remember?
One of my sources.
We know that the C5 controls the appendages. So maybe there's extra pairs of nerves there, around there. Yeah, we don't have a lot of.
You know what? It does include sacral nerves and the coccygeal nerve. That's
Does
where
it-
you get your 31.
But it's not just two for each? It's not just two sacral and two, or not just two cones?
No, you got 5 sacral nerves, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
makes
so
sense.
this- yes.
Corresponding to what would be 5 distinct
If it were- if
vertebral
they weren't- yeah,
aspects
if
of
they
the sacrum.
weren't, all
Mhm.
used.
and 1 coccygeal nerve. So that gives you your 25 T12.
That's funny, they're fused.
Interesting, although there are 7 cervical vertebrae, there are 8 cervical nerves. So that's where you get your extra. So it would be 8 and 12, that's 20.
On the cervical, are there two that are close together around C5, or?
Well, you got C7 and you got C1, makes sense. A pair, right? There are pairs of, right? And we're not talking cranial, there are 12 cranial nerves, that's a whole other story.
Right.
And there's pair C1, a pair coming off of C2, C3, C4, 5, 6, 7, and there's an 8th cervical nerve that seems to be associated with C7.
Between C7 and
Yeah.
C1.
Yeah, must be. And then you've got T1 through 12 pairs, L1 through 5, S1 through 5, and coccygeal 1. There's your 31 pair. Okay? And here's what they look like. I should put this up.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
If I could get a picture of them, I don't know if it's on this website. Let's see.
So do you think we need to know where the corpus callosum and pons and all those?
Yes, I
Where they
think-
are? Where they're located?
I don't know if you'll have a diagram, because she said that the questions are multiple choice, but I would think that you may have to know that. Yes, that you would have to know that.
Or might it be a sample she gives us for the bones and the muscles and
Yeah. Well, she's going to give you a study guide, and what she says in here is, somewhere in here, it says basically you've got to know all of the bold-faced terms, right, on the 7 or 8 pages, 2, 4, 6, 7 pages
Get
here.
my highlighter out.
So I want to work through this, and then if there are any questions, okay? I also I've got a nice chart. I don't think she handed this out. But I'll give you notes from this for each part of the brain, and then we'll probably segue and talk about the quote-unquote limbic system, okay? Which involves motion. Okay, so starting at the bottom, going from top to bottom and starting literally at the bottom, we're talking about the cerebellum, which means in Latin, little brain, right? But there's nothing little about this little brain. Right? You see it?
Can we pull that down so we can see number 1?
What's the problem?
Where you can
Oh.
one.
Huh.
I know, on the computer, like,
Oh, right. I'm sorry. Yeah, of course.
perfect.
There.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so what the cerebellum's involved with motor control, equilibrium, balance, muscle tone, right? Right? It's part of the central nervous system. We understand the central nervous system consists of what? The brain and spinal cord, right? But the brain is not just one big mass of neurons, gray matter and white matter. It's broken into different areas, right? Different lobes. So first thing we talk about is the cerebellum, which is number 10 there. They've got a cross section of it as well. Your textbook doesn't have anything on this. If I could get this thing to work, put some pictures up from another text that I've used in the last class that I taught.
Is that in the back? That's a terrible question, but is that in the back? Okay, sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, sure. Yes, this is anterior. This is posterior.
Okay.
Right? Okay. No, it's not. It's not a terrible question. Why would it be? The only terrible question is the one that you don't ask. You know, there's no. As far as I'm concerned, there are no stupid questions. And don't be afraid to ask. Okay. So, what's the matter?
No, I was telling her I tried to like draw it on the paper and
Yeah, there are lots of. Do you have a computer at home? Everybody's got.
no, I do it on the paper.
Mhm.
So instead of like referring back to the website, I can just look on it here.
Yeah, right. You got it on the
You're
paper?
artistic. For us,
Oh,
it's
you've
not.
got.
Sorry.
Look at how she drew that.
Oh, Zoe.
I know.
Artist in residence. Okay.
Exactly.
Mom, show the class, show and tell. Didn't she draw it? It looks like she traced it for crying out loud.
Show and tell. Please do that. Please
It's
be
just a little. It's just a little brain.
Yeah.
She's got a good brain for that. All right. So.
Take a snapshot. That's
So what is it, what part of her brain enables her to do artistic things of this sort? Right, the right hemisphere of the brain, right?
Good what?
The creative side, so to speak. The left side is more logical, analytical. Theoretically enables me to prepare for this lesson, right? Okay, what's important? I can read something and highlight it. And there's part of it probably, but then the right side, well, I don't know, maybe because I do it in different colors, but that's the artistic part of it. When I do alternate nostril breathing, have people done, did I do that with you yet? No. Great. Balance to calm down, to balance the left and right hemispheres of the brain. When you sit down and you do easy pose and you do your initial, what do we call this?
Are you referring to the G word of the hands? Or?
Yeah, the pose. Right. You're connecting the left and right hemispheres, and you're balancing your brain, and you start to breathe slowly. Breath work. When you do that with your clients, you don't tell them to. Well, you might tell them to meditate or suggest that they do so. Anyway, the cerebellum enables us. It's got more neurons. I don't know that you need to know this, but it has more neurons than the rest of the brain put together, right? Can you imagine 200 million incoming neural connections? That's an amazing amount of information.
No wonder why we can't sleep sometimes.
That's right. No wonder why, my client who's thinking about suicide, well, whatever. She can't stop the brain, her head, her mind from churning. Right? She can't turn it off. Okay, the cerebellum being one of the lobes of the brain is subdivided into more lobes, anterior, posterior, flocculonular, don't worry about that. It's got gray and white matter, which I'll talk about in a minute. Anyhow, the point of it, the functions are 3. Muscle tone and posture, right? Now, we're not talking your back muscles, we're talking about the control center in the brain. Coordination of voluntary motor activity. Right? So when I decide that I'm going to walk down the middle of the classroom, the cerebellum is making sure I'm not veering off this side. Sorry. Balance. Maintenance of balance. So, as far as cerebellum and muscle tone is concerned, It's got connections with other parts of the brain, so it's connecting with the higher brain. The control center and the motor cortex, which is, I think, what we'll be focusing on predominantly in the brain, because we want to know sensory and what aspects of the brain respond to touch, and therefore can be directed to move. Yeah, so it's receiving sensory information from the rest of the body, from the bones, right? The muscles, the joints, where they are, the rate and direction of movement, and the forces acting upon them, and that, in turn, the cerebellum sends that information to the motor control centers, and that motor control centers enable us to stand, not to veer off to the side, maybe to drive a car. So what is it about motor control that goes on there? It's receiving information from all the movements as I walk around the classroom, right? I don't have to think about it. Right? And it's the motor control, the areas of the cortex. What are we talking about when it comes to the cortex? We'll get to the motor areas in a minute, because then we're dealing with the, I would say, the cerebrum, which is the brain, the part of the brain that takes up the greatest amount of space, right? The cerebellum, it's a little piece, almost, not exactly an afterthought, but it's a little piece at the bottom, right? At the back by the brain stem. But it carries a lot of weight for its size. Let's see, I'm going to read this. I hate to just read what I've highlighted, but in some cases I think we've got to deal with it. Okay, I'm not going to, so I haven't highlighted that much, right? I promise you. But it is, I think I said it yesterday, you've got to spend the time reading, studying. A couple hours a day or night really is required in a course like this to keep up. Okay? Because if you don't, it'll catch up to you. I mean, unless you're really, really, really smart. Right? Maybe my daughter could pull it off. You know, not studying. No, even that's not true. You've got to do it. Okay, so the cerebellum, I'm reading what I've highlighted, receives information in sequence of movements desired by the motor control areas of the cortex. With regard to movement coordination, the cerebellum behaves like a computer, right? It's comparing the actual movement of the muscle groups with the actions, motions intended by the motor cortex, which is up in the cerebrum, which we will get to, right? The motor cortex is going to say, this is what I perceive, this is what I want to do, right? This is the limb or the area that I want to feel, right? But the cerebellum will send signals to the muscle group to adjust the movement if it needs to be adjusted. So it's sort of it's not exactly, it does it without thinking, but it does control. The thinking part occurs in the cerebrum, right? You understand the difference? Okay. So they suggest that it's like computers calculating and correcting the flight path of airplanes or space vehicles. And nowadays, even our cars, right? You've got computers over correcting the driver. So the body, I'm turning to the next page, page 2. The body maintains its equilibrium from sensory inputs from where? The eye, right? From what we see. Right? Where do our senses come from? The eyes. The vestibular system. What do we mean by that? In the ears. Equilibrium. It's the balance. Vestibular. It's not the hearing. You were right. You're right. Don't be afraid to speak. Right? And if you're wrong, so what? You know? Again, don't be afraid. I don't want to be the only one talking in here. I'll lose my voice much too quickly. Okay, the eyes, the vestibular system, the ears, the proprioceptive system, right? That's the joints, the bones, the muscles, what these senses are telling us regarding the position of the body. I still can't pronounce it. The floculonodular lobes of the cerebellum. Ooh, I got it. That pronunciation. Play a role in receiving and processing information. Okay, and that's why cerebellar injury results in ataxia. What's ataxia? That's a word you need to know. If I tell you need to know it, you know you got to write that down. Ataxia, A-T-A-X-I-A. Ataxia. Yep.
Spell again,
A-T-A-X-I-A. Ataxia.
And it means?
No something or cannot do something.
Right. I don't know if it's Greek or
Can you spell it one more time?
not. Ataxia, A-T-A-X-I-A. It's the bottom.
It's the loss of full control.
Loss of motor control, right? What did it say there?
Oh, I know, I saw
Yeah.
it. Oh, there it is.
So it's a loss of your voluntary motor control. Could be some sort of from a cerebral injury. Every moment, literally every movement of the body is regulated and smoothly controlled by the cerebellum. So if the cerebellum is injured, suddenly what had been a nice, comfortable walk becomes somebody's dragging, right, a foot. Something is going on, whether it be from a CVA, a stroke, or whatnot. An injury can have a tremendous impact on the rest of the body. Okay, now what else? We talk about, there's a bit about emotional behavior. I'm not sure I want to go there.
We did that when you told us about your client.
That's right. You have an emotional response, and the emotional response, as much as you may want to override that, you have that's why, I mean, emotional response can be visceral. You get angry, right? I come in here and you say, "Are you in a crabby mood tonight?"
Yeah, I did see
Right?
it.
And it takes time
There, who wants
for us to breathe and calm down, right? We don't always have full control. Okay, so we know it helps us maintain posture, balance, enables you to perform rapid and repetitive movements like running. You don't have to think about it when I'm running, or when I don't run anymore. I bicycle and I walk. But you don't think about your pace or lifting one foot and the way your arms swing opposite the legs, so on and so forth. A pen, I'm sure we have extra pens.
No, I have a, no, I was just looking for something else, but thank you.
Okay. Okay, so major brain functions of the cerebellum: mobility, balance, and posture. Right, 1, 2, 3. You see it all there? Okay. So injuries, inability to coordinate movement, inability to walk, tremors, paralysis, right? Ataxia, abnormal gait. Now, for some reason, we now jump to the top of the brain, to the cerebral cortex. The cerebral cortex is the tissue that covers the cerebrum. What's the cerebrum? Maybe I should cut to my note on the cerebrum for that. And not to mention gray and white matter, which I got a little piece on from mybrainnotes.com. There, let's see, fourth layer. Nope, no, that's hers. I'm mixing up this subtle bodies with my notes. Sorry. cerebral cortex. Bear with me. I've got the limbic system I pulled before I came here. Okay, this is a nice, maybe I'll make copies of this if I can ever get this copier to work. So it's a nice summary of the different parts of the brain. And in 2.5 lines, it simply says, cerebellum deals chiefly with movement. It's used a lot. That's nice down-to-earth language. It's used a lot. When a human is a toddler, because it's involved in learning movement, additionally it coordinates posture and balance. We know that. But the cerebrum, which we'd be going up to, or the neocortex, controls thinking, planning, judgment, right? This is our voluntary movement, speech and language, reasoning, right? To a great extent, although we could literally spend a year in each of these parts, if not more. I mean, my daughter's spending 7 years studying the brain. What our concern is with the motor areas, right? What we call we show the the precentral gyrus. All right, the motor, when a human brain is viewed from the side, if I could get this thing to work, let me show you, let's see if we can, wait here.
Did I not say that?
What's that? It's not from the side.
Ew, what was that one?
Here we go. What was what?
That.
This? Here's the frontal, it's all the one.
Occipital lobe.
Yep. Yeah, occipital lobe, the temporal lobe. So which is anterior, which is posterior?
Occipital is posterior.
Right, so this is posterior, right? And here's your frontal lobe.
And that's going to be your limbic system.
What's that?
The limbic system is going to be.
Mm-hmm. Here, they talk about what has been called the limbic system. Well, we'll get to that. I don't know if this is the place we want to. Let's see if we can get the brain's two hemispheres. I want to get a good picture of this. Let's see. Left brain or right brain? No. Brain and consciousness? No.
Do you have a left brain, right brain test?
Yeah.
We should have took one. That would have been a great way to start.
Yeah, this is what we just had.
You can go all the way down to the bottom. I think
Where's that?
where you were. The first page that you were looking at when you stopped. You got to go down the bottom of that page. It would have given you a
That
better
and my
first-
mother like
first
drills
view
in
of
it.
that.
Here?
The
No.
original, when you first started your lecture, the page that you're on.
Let's go home. It wasn't here. Nope. Brain anatomy, no? And this is where we were, right? This
Yeah, but
this
go
page.
down- Go down to the bottom of that page. Oh, there's,
That's all.
no, there was the next page. There was the page that you were on, and I stopped you and asked you what that was. The next page
I've been married like 40 years.
was the
Yeah. And then,
fastest way to fail.
Don't call me May.
Well, what I'd like to find is basically this illustration, which if I could get this thing to work, I could then put up on there. Because we're dealing with the motor areas in the brain that control our speech, our movements, right? Motor, right?
Like
Motor.
the sight is in the back and the hearing is
Well, yes, sight, yes, the
pointing to the left.
different lobes, but the motor area itself, which controls a particular body part, is found in what we call the precentral gyrus. I'm pretty sure she has it on the third page, the second. All right, here. When a human brain is viewed from the side, one of its most conspicuous features is its deep groove, which runs downwards and forwards from the top toward the temporal lobe. The groove is called, don't worry about what it's called,
Fissure
what's
of
in
Rolando.
front of it. What's that?
Fissure of Rolando.
Yeah, the fissure of Rolando. Obviously, Rolando must have been somebody who discovered it.
Discovered.
Right.
Decided.
And they're trying to move away from naming these things after people.
The precentral drive.
It's what we're looking for is the precentral gyrus. And that precentral gyrus is where all the nerve cells connect, controlling movements of our voluntary muscles, right? So that's everything, all of our peripheral voluntary muscles, right? Speech, right? From the hands, right? The lips, the mouth. Each point on here controls, let's see, the ankle, the toes, the hip, the knee. Throughout, all the way across, what do they call this? A homunculus? The diagram where you can associate. Again, I apologize for not being able to put this up on the screen. But you see the idea, right? So you've got an area rather large for the lips, a huge area just devoted to the hands, because we've got more nerve endings, right? More sensory and motor nerve endings in our hands than we do in any other part of our body. Okay? Then can everybody see this? And again, my apologies for not being able to figure out how to get it up there. And this is, the textbook that we have doesn't have this in it, which is again why I'm bringing it up.
Just the cerebral nerves.
This is just a motor. In other words,
Oh, I got it.
it corresponds to the motor areas of the actual areas of the body. And that is this piece that goes across, it crosses both hemispheres. Now the areas on the right side control the left side of the body, the left side, the right side of the body. I don't know why that is, but that's the mirror, that's the way, that's the way it works. So, so this area, this motor area, which is called a primary somatosensory area, is called the precentral gyrus. Right? It's because it's the area that makes our muscles move, voluntary muscles move, right? That's why it's called the motor area. Here they talk about being on opposite sides of the body. It's rather odd. Let's see. Parts of the body which make rapid and accurate movements, such as the fingers and the tongue, have a lot of cells to control their muscles, and for that reason, relatively large parts of the brain are devoted to that. Right? What do we do more than anything else? We use the jaw, right? The mandible. The tongue. We use our tongue. We never know, except when we sleep. It's hard for us to be silent. I think silence is a wonderful place to be.
I have a huge problem with that.
Being
You didn't
quiet.
notice.
Being quiet, yes, I've noticed. So do I. Hey, listen, so do I. But I also try to take the.
I asked for that.
Not me, it's you, Diane. Who's gonna be third?
I also try to get some quiet time, whether it's in a yoga class or meditation or
You can't get that
you know,
around me.
turning off all that stimuli. Turning off the radio, even the radio. I don't watch television. One of these days I will, but I mean, I will not literally avoid it, but I don't watch it in my home. It's not connected. That may change. Because I like watching baseball and everything. But anyway. So, other important parts of the brain that she mentioned, so I figured I'd cover it here, and then I'm going to make sure everything else that I want you to think you should know is covered. She mentions the pituitary gland, the basal ganglia. Do we have that up here? Do we have that? Let's see. Basal ganglia and the RAS, reticular activating system. That's something I didn't really know about. No. All right, I give up on that. What does the pituitary do? Growth regulation, pituitary. And by the way, when we work on it's growth hormones, pituitary is also a place that by stimulating it, we can help, when we're working as massage therapists, we can help move the client from a already. I don't know where my brain is. From sympathetic to parasympathetic. Thank you. I knew it started with an S. Right? I mean, what happens when more often than not, certainly my client who came in this morning was not in a parasympathetic mode. She's coming in, she's upset.
What's parasympathetic again?
Okay, that's sympathetic is fight or flight, right? Right. So the sympathetic will close down your digestive system, right? It will basically get your adrenaline pumping. It enables us to cope with for the most part, our day-to-day reality.
It's the stress.
It's the
stress
right,
part of it.
right, and it's controlled by stress hormones, which would be coming from or not the pituitary gland, right? And the adrenals. There's all sorts of things, different hormones.
So
Which,
instead of doing a complete body massage, all you really have to just find that
Well-
pituitary gland and work in there.
what you
So what's
do
that?
there are a number of ways to get to the pituitary and the pineal gland, which stimulates the pituitary. And one is on the thumb, when you're doing reflexology or you're doing hand, and on the big toe. The big toe especially I find I can connect with as a calming mechanism. Yes, of course, working directly on the head. But what we do ultimately gets people, and it can take 15, 20 minutes to get them to shift into that from sympathetic to parasympathetic, right? Because you know they're going to, ideally, they're going to look and feel a lot different from when they walk in your door to when they leave.
Does that work the same way as the gate system with pain? Does
The gate control
Yeah,
theory?
does by getting the person into a parasympathetic mode,
Mhm.
does that close off?
It might, because it's deeply relaxing, right? So you may be in the parasympathetic mode can take you into a higher, well, the brain waves would probably change. We'll talk about brain waves. I think we
Would it
get
be faster? Would it be a faster channel than the?
might be. I don't know. Good question. I love your questions. Make a note of it and let us know if you find the answer or when you find the answer. let's see.
So you're calling yourself the basal ganglia.
Basal ganglia, right, which is just, we'll get to the diencephalon, which is located just above it. Each cerebral hemisphere handles coordination and habitual but acquired skills. Did you know that chewing was an acquired skill? Well, I don't know. When I first read it, I thought, yeah, chewing gum. Chewing in general. You know, do we know how to chew when we're born? We know how to
It's
suck.
not innate.
We have a sucking instinct, right? But chewing, we don't have teeth, right? So perhaps it is something. I never thought of it as being a learned. Certainly playing the piano, playing any musical instrument is an acquired
Maybe it's acquired because you're
skill.
not born with teeth.
But isn't that the end of
You can't
nursing?
chew when you first
When the baby starts chewing?
What's that?
Isn't that the
Yeah,
end-
right, it hurts.
the end of nursing?
No, not
No.
unless they bite. And if they do, you just right?
So that's not an indicator that the child's ready
two.
to stop nursing.
You can stop whenever
No.
you feel like
You can
it.
stop when you feel like. Some people
No.
stop after a few months.
But they
Some
do
people
start
will
chewing,
nurse
start
for 3 or
chewing.
4
That's not
years
wrong.
even. Maybe 5.
No, they bite. They start biting
Yeah, they
when
bite.
they figure they
You know
can.
when they bite, you
And
rub
then
their
you
nose.
pinch them and you let them know, don't bite me.
Yeah. The women know. The women know.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. So you just hold their nose and they.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Is that what you do?
Like
Just hold their
that,
nose
and then
and
their
you-
and
right,
their
because
mouth
you
opens.
They have to let
Right.
go.
You-
Yeah,
you
they gotta
can't.
let go. But anyway.
Or
It's an
go,
instinct to breathe.
or you can go like this. If you when you
And
do
then
that,
they get
they let go.
surprised.
If you blow in their face, like
But they don't bite. I mean, I don't know. Mine doesn't bite.
I was bitten by all my kids. Every single one of them.
Okay, the RAS system, just to cut to the, we don't want to get too distracted here, it's already going on in the car.
Yeah.
What's that?
Oh, I was just gonna say, could you help us label some of these things?
Sure.
Because I'm doing the best I can, but I'm
You want
lost
to go
on
over
a
that
few.
again at some point tonight?
Not the ones that she
Oh,
didn't.
the others.
The
Good.
others.
Huh.
The other ones, because the hands is very complicated.
Yeah, as best, well, we're not going to include the hand on the midterm. We're
No,
not
but
yet.
eventually we're
Yeah,
gonna need to know it, right?
You gotta know them all, yeah,
I
well.
think the ones that she had.
The
ones she
numbered,
numbered
I would
Are
assume,
in the trail guide under spine and thorax.
right, they
They're all
should
in
be.
there under
yeah,
spine and
Yeah, they're
thorax.
there.
And those are the muscles that we're focusing on, at least for the midterm, right? I hate to break it down that way, but you know, at this point, we're spending the rest of, well, I don't know how much more time this week. We don't know whether or not, when we'll get back on the tables. It depends on whether or not they picked up the curtains today. Supposedly they were going to do it. I got an email about it today. We've been complaining, but,
The pituitary is growth regulation.
yeah.
The basal.
Basal ganglia
Coordination and
and
habits.
habitual skills, right? How to play the piano, how to catch a ball, perhaps. You know, things that you need, right? How to throw something. These are things that you learn, right? They're not innate. Okay, and then the RAS system.
What's the RA?
It says it functions as a sentry. For example, if you walk into a noisy restaurant and you're looking for someone who's a friend, right, whose voice you recognize, and it's a cacophony of noise and you can't hear a thing, but your friend calls to you, you're able to single out that voice and recognize, and unless you don't hear on one side like me, you'll turn in the right direction, right?
So that's a filter.
It's a filter. Yeah, exactly.
What is RAS?
More than that, I don't know about it. It's the reticular activating system.
Sarah, what is RAS?
Reticular activating system. RAS.
Oh, you mean that thing you just said. Oh.
And it's a sentry and a filter.
It's like something like a sentry, a filter, right? So it enables you to filter out all the other noise, the background noise, and center on that. Once upon a time, a good hearing aid should enable that to happen, but that can be difficult.
Very expensive.
Yes. In my case, I don't hear it all on this side, so what I have to do, and what I have done, although they're very expensive, is you get an aid with a microphone on this side, and without wires, it drops into speaker on the good side, I don't want to call it that, on the hearing side, right? And that way, theoretically, I could tell better tell what side people were talking from. And the problem is, though, in noisy situations,
Yeah, it's everywhere.
it's everywhere. And also, they're delicate. And the last one I had was a long time ago, pre-divorce.
So that's a nerve situation.
Yeah, right.
Auditory nerve
There's so much nerve damage, and the three bones are long gone, and then over time, there's nerve damage. At one point, I had a infection. I just had chronic ear infections. At one point, I had infection became so really difficult to get rid of. What happened was a ball of cholesterol, a cholesteatoma formed, right? Oma, like a tumor, right? Of cholesterol. It's like an onion, layers and layers and layers in my ear, right? I don't see it. I just knew weird things were happening when I tossed my head. The world would spin, right? So my balance was shot because this cholesteatoma was pressing against the semicircular canals, which controls my balance. And it's,
So were you having vertigo?
you better believe I was.
Yeah.
Trying to my
Yeah.
first year in college too. It's hard to concentrate.
Oh, that
And
happens.
everybody said, "Oh, it's psychosomatic. It's all in your head. You're having a hard time doing this and
Well,
that."
it was all in your head.
You know, it was in my head exactly. Then I came, eventually and ultimately what happened was it exposed the seventh nerve, which controls, it's a facial nerve. So they knew something was wrong, aside from the fact that I was up all night in agony when it just sort of broke, so to speak. It exposed the seventh nerve, so the whole left side of my face would kind of droop, right? It was
So
like
like Bell's palsy.
like a stroke in a
Bell's
sense.
palsy.
Like Bell's palsy.
Right.
Exactly.
That's what I said, yeah.
Bell's palsy? No, something, so the ear doctor knew, and I went straight into emergency surgery. Not fun. But anyhow, so that ultimately there's the nerve damage. So there's no way to amplify sound if nothing's there to pick it up.
Yeah, the auditory canal is
Yeah.
close.
Yep.
So it's like, nothing's going in.
Right.
Nothing's being sent.
Yeah. Now they opened everything up, but there's no nerves to pick it up.
That helped it.
Okay, they talk about area 4.
Oh,
They talk about area 6. I never heard of area 6. Area 4. Maybe somebody named area. No. Is the primary motor cortex that we've of the precentral gyrus, right? Right. It's located in it, and
Tastes like medicine.
yeah, when it's stimulated, it's interesting. Localized muscle spasms in limbs on the opposite side of the body will occur. That makes sense because, again, the hemispheres of the brain control opposite sides.
So left-handed people, or that's affected by the right side of the brain.
I guess, yeah, sure. Mhm. But anything you do with your left hand is directed on the right side, right? So again, that's why the seventh nerve on the right side was affecting Bell's palsy, like the left side of my face. Okay, that's area 4, prime motor area. Area 6, I just took a quick look at this and said, okay, premotor cortex, takes sensory information, integrates it into planning more complex movements. It's called the supplementary motor area, has a specific purpose. What is it? It works to help plan fine muscle movements and used extensively in tasks that require both hands. That might be involved in playing the violin, for example, which I did as a right? What's that?
Are we going over the whole handout?
Yes. Yeah, it's only 7 pages. When we get to the end, then we'll take a break and do a little
Muscles.
couples massage or something. Jump up. Okay? You know I believe in that. I don't go 3 hours till the coach does it.
Muscles.
Well, okay. She wanted me to go on to do.
Never mind, sorry.
You could come in and have that done by the weekend.
Yeah.
The muscles, the rest of the diagrams. All right, we're talking about some anatomy. Extrafusal muscle fibers. I've been told we need to know these highlight or the bold-face terms.
Okay.
So extrafusal muscle fibers served by axons. We know what axons and dendrites and cell bodies are. Yes? No? Maybe we need to review nerves. Because I want to get to the end of this and then just go over the different parts of the brain very quickly, and I'll see if I can make a copy of this handout tomorrow, if I can get the machine to cooperate with me. I don't think it's over there. Unless it must be, because I didn't make a copy of it. So, alpha motor neurons serving multiple muscle fibers. Contraction of these muscles provides movement. Okay, we know that. Extrafusal muscle fibers and associated alpha motor neurons are called a motor unit, right? We dealt with the sarcomere, right? And the collection of them is a motor unit. They all or one, they all fire together, or they don't fire at all. So when a muscle moves, Coach talked about that yesterday. You talked? No? Yes? Oh, you weren't here yesterday. Sorry. But I'm not making that up, right? That's why the handout. Okay. So extra, which means
Anybody need a chart?
intrafusal, which would mean within the muscle. Intrafusal muscle fibers are the specialized sensory organs served by two axons, one sensory and one motor, which are called, we know this, muscle spindles, right? We've heard of, right? Muscle spindle cells. Okay, and Golgi tendon organs, right? So the muscle spindles are found in the belly of the muscle. I don't know if we have the Golgi tendon organs. Should be there. They are down here. Sensory feedback. Some of this seems to be repeating itself. But let's see. Gamma motor neurons, right, are efferent. We remember the difference between afferent and efferent. Yes. Somebody wanted Maria?
Afferent goes to the brain, efferent is the signal.
Right. It's the effect, the response that says, "Okay, move this," right? And it's voluntary or not. If I put my hand on a hot stove, I don't have to think about, oh gee, it's hot.
That's
You know,
afferent? I don't get it.
that's
Wouldn't that be efferent? The response?
yeah. The response is efferent, right? Right? Because it's being told move.
Afferent with an A. Afferent with an A is what?
What, once voluntary?
Is the signal from the brain.
Right, from the brain.
Response is from the brain to your muscles.
Is telling you to move, right? So the sensory is afferent, and the response, the effect, is the motor neuron. Right? Let's see. Gamma motor neurons. Oh, goodness. The efferent axon causes the intrafusal muscle fiber to contract, but contributes little force. I don't think that's particularly important, but it's bold-faced. So it modifies the sensitivity of the fiber's afferent axon to force. It's too complex for me. You want to really keep it as simple as possible. Myofibrils, we know, contain actin and myosin. Remember the myofibrils, the handout,
The
Yeah,
quiz.
actually showed us.
right? Right, the quiz, which will probably be on Monday,
No, we have filter.
Tuesday.
Was on what?
No, we'll bring them along. I'm not stopping here on Monday. I have to remember not to come there. So we know the anatomy for the muscles, the muscular contraction. There are, what do we have, 5 basic concepts through to understand the neuromuscular junction. What is that? I mean, the word tells us what it is, right? So what is it? You can read it. The synapse between the efferent terminal button, I don't know that there's actual button there, but, and the membrane of the muscle fiber, right? So in order for that junction to be crossed, you need neurochemicals, right? Because the junction is, we understand the concept of a synapse, right? It's a gap space. Yes? Okay. At the muscle itself, you've got motor end plates, sorry. The postsynaptic, post meaning the end of, the opposite side of the synapse. Acetylcholine, we need to know, is what?
Released by efferent axons, terminal buttons, resulting in depolarization at the end plate.
Right, so the end plate potential, that's the all or none, produces a contraction or a twitch, right? A muscle contraction. Calcium, we talked about the calcium channels open when you've got the positive, negative poles, the polarity changing. And that's what then enables calcium to flood into the muscle fiber, or the spindle. The actin to move along the myosin. Right? The actin, right, climbs along the myosin chain, right? And has anyone, there was a site today I saw it actually moving. You wouldn't know what it is unless the website told you. Okay, so that's the muscular, wait, is there more? Muscular contraction. Acetylcholine, that's your neurotransmitter, your neurochemical that enables the depolarization to take place for the muscle contraction to occur, right? Okay, single impulse produces a single twitch. You need a series of action potentials to produce a sustained contraction. That's the all or none concept. Okay, what happens? Feedback from muscles. You need interfusional muscle fibers. Okay, they stretch when the muscle lengthens and relax when it shortens. That makes sense. So they detect the length of the muscle. The Golgi tendon organ. Those are the big ones. When I grew up, the only ones when you really needed to know were the muscle spindle fibers. Now they just call the muscle spindles and the Golgi tendon organ. So there are stretch receptors located within the tendons, right? So at the ends of the muscle, right? Not in the belly of the muscle where you'll find the spindles. They detect the amount of stretch. And it's interesting. It says they don't respond to length, but to how hard the pull is, right? So I think we know. If an arm is dropped quickly, would it have an effect on the Golgi tendon organ? I don't know. What do you think? If someone's lowering your arm, will it have an effect on the Golgi tendon
It
organ?
shouldn't, because the
No.
muscle isn't pulled.
Exactly. There's no pull. When it's dropped quickly,
Then yeah, there should.
then there'd be gravity is pulling, right? Right. There's a force. So there, your muscle, the Golgi tendon organ should respond. And if a weight is dropped into the hand held parallel to the floor, will there be a response? I would think so, sure, because the muscle has to contract. It's not, or it's, to hold it, to grab the weight, and not to fall. I guess she wants us to know what a monosynaptic stretch reflex is. Ah, okay, that's, you hit the patellar tendon, right? Just, we've all had, they check your reflexes.
Yeah, with the
Right,
little
the hammer.
stick thing.
Yeah, the little mallet, right? There's a rubber mallet. They go boing, right? So the brain's not involved there, right?
And a reflex.
It's a reflex response. By the same token, if I touch your knee and say, move your leg, it's not a reflex response. It's a much slower response. There you have the opportunity to think about it. Let's see. When a weight is placed in a person's hand, like this book, for example, I'm holding the book. What's happening? Afferent impulses from the muscle spindle are conducted to the terminal buttons in the gray matter of the spinal cord, and we'll talk about gray matter and white matter in a minute, or two, or three. I've got all my handouts to add to all the stuff that she gives us.
You're doing good.
Well, we do it differently, right? So, no, I like my one. I think it works. As long as I cover as long as you get what you need to, I hate to say regurgitate when it comes time to exams and then the ultimate MBITES exam, right? Which we will do everything we can to prepare you. That's why she's got the study guides, and I don't know when it comes time to actually prepare for MBITES toward the end of this year, but I would guess that they've got a computer, they've got you all set up for all sorts of practice tests and so on and so forth. I know someone who's studying at another school just down the road. Don't tell anybody.
Yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, she said that she was going to hand out this study guide.
Today.
Yeah, she
You
did.
have the copies of
No. So we'll have it tomorrow. I will remind her. Thank you. Yeah.
Down the street, what?
And what's that?
You were saying
Well, there's a massage school
Yeah, we know.
down the street. I think there are two of them actually. There's Margate and there's another one right across from Margate.
But this one's best.
And American Institute, right? And they do not, from what I've heard, right? And this is hearsay, but I've heard it from a good source. They do very, very little to prepare their students for the MBITES. It sounds like they've got a great program, but you could have a great program anywhere, but the program falls by the wayside if they're not going to give you practice tests and so on and so forth. Not simply teach to the test, but sit you down in front of a computer terminal and give you the means to prepare. Anyway, we will do that here. We definitely do that here. Okay.
Isn't a lot of it the massage prep that we have to
Yeah, that's your massage prep.
Most of it is massage prep though, right? Well, if you can do that program, you're gonna pass.
You should, right.
There's two tests.
money
There's
back.
the MLIT and then there's the other one, the massage sport something.
Not anymore. Everything's being.
It's all MLIT.
Yep, it's all MBITES. I think just about.
Because both the
I think
other-
even some of the bigger states. Well, we're a big state now. Does MBITES.
Does the rule still apply, like, if you don't pass your third time, then you have to go back to school?
Really? No, I think you can take it as many. I know somebody, or I knew somebody, who took it 4 or 5 times.
The
The MBITES.
You have to go back.
Oh,
and
yeah,
get-
yeah. The MBITES you can take as many times as you need. You shouldn't have to take it more than once or twice. Right? But yeah, there's no limit to the number of times you can take it as long as you keep paying for it.
Yeah. Get your credit
It's
card.
nice to pass the first time if you possibly can. It makes a difference. And you know right away. I mean, you know your score as soon as you're done.
My niece just passed her nurse boards, whatever.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. What else? If I can. She talks about posture. Okay, if you push forward muscles, yeah. Gamma motor system allows for adjustment of sensitivity of muscle spindles to muscle length.
Sorry.
When muscle spindles are relaxed, they're insensitive to stretch, but when they're taut, they feel the stretch quicker.
You know, some people even did that with
I don't know to what extent we go into details with how the brain sends messages for movement. You got alpha motor neurons here, starting the contraction with gamma motor neurons, extrafusal and interfusal muscle fibers contracting. If there's resistance, if there's not resistance, it depends on what the situation is. Golgi tendon organs, did we know have two kinds of receptors? Heavens. Two kinds, more sensitive and less sensitive. Sounds like some people I know. I know more sensitive and less sensitive people. I generally like the more sensitive people. Got a class full of them here.
Yes.
I'm not sure what she means by agonist, antagonist. Muscle groups will obviously talk about that. We know muscles don't work. I mean, if we really think about it.
Happy birthday! It's your birthday!
I'm sorry.
How dare you?
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
It's a good birth month.
Happy birthday!
Today?
Happy birthday today!
Why don't you tell us we'd have a cake for you? At least bring in some fruit to hand out.
I made sure everybody knew.
Unique, you need folks. Maybe we need a list of birthdays.
Yes.
No, I'm serious. Sorry. Let's see. Let's get my list again. Here, I'll pass it around. Write down your birthday. Next to your name. I know you do it. You do it. Okay?
Next year.
And if it's next year, it'll be next year. I'll send you an email and say happy birthday. Okay?
A lot of June's birthdays. A lot of Geminis and Cancers in here.
Yeah. Who else is June? Unique. It's your birthday today. Selena? Huh?
The 29th.
The 29th. Okay, another Cancer like me.
I'm a Gemini though. Monday. You're a Gemini too.
Geminis are, we're all good.
But we're the best. We're the best at doing it.
Cancers, even if they blue. Okay. Where were we?
Muscle spindles and terminal buttons to alpha motor neurons, the brain and inhibitory neurons. I'll leave that to Coach if she thinks it's that important. We should know what a homunculus. I don't know why. Homunculus, right? That's the drawing that I had here of the disproportionate. The concept is the disproportionate amount of space, muscular. Come on, where's the nervous system?
I got that. So the one I was missing was number 3.
Would it be cool if Denzel Washington walked in right now?
Bear with me while I refine my place.
First you wanted to.
Where was I? Three something.
Every time I come here, I think, yeah, and I have to go to the vending machine.
I don't know, I got me some tabbouleh salad waiting for me at home. Tabbouleh. Tabbouleh. You never ate tabbouleh? It's like parsley, chopped up onions and wheat. Yeah, wheat germ. It's good, right? Parsley and wheat germ. It's good.
Wheat germ doesn't sound
I
appetizing.
completely lost my place in here. Hang on.
I still can't get this.
Good girl.
Just like a little seeds and can't get it from my phone.
Yeah, well, that's not bad. Nothing wrong with that.
23601.
I made it with edamame salad. So, mix them all up.
See, her brain right now is telling her.
Okay, here's the homunculus, right? That's the idea of,
That's
it's
that
like a
one
brain map.
section right
And
here.
Alright, I
that's,
wanna
that's the motor section, and this is what, this is the green, and this is how the corresponding areas, that's why so much space is devoted to the lips, right? To the tongue, right? Especially to the throat, where we sing, we speak, right? The voice comes from. The voice box, the larynx, the pharynx. And the hand more than anything else, probably the thumb more than anything else. The palm, the hand. And the foot, the feet, less so than the hand. But very, very little nerves, sense of touch in the back, for example, right? You don't need it unless you're lying down on something that's bothering you, but you don't need to feel as much. You don't need to have any nerve endings. Okay, moving right along. Cortical control. Primary motor cortex we talked about already. That's this green precentral gyrus.
Yes, stimulation of movement.
And interesting, monkeys respond faster when trained to pull a lever following a stimulus to the hand rather than sight or sound, because there are more nerves going on associated with that motor control. Cortical control of movement, I don't know that I want to spend a lot of time on that. We want to remember what apraxia is. Apraxia.
Ataxia, you said loss of motor control.
Right. Well, apraxia is
The
inability to properly execute a learned skill movement
For example,
following any sort of cerebral incident, right? I.e. a TIA or a CVA, a stroke. That's my I
So it's
scribbled
that
there.
able to follow what? A learned?
A learned
Skilled
movement. Apraxia, as opposed to what was we said before? Ataxia. Cerebellar injury is not learned, right?
Doesn't matter past.
yum.
Even if it's past, I want to know your thing. Okay. I'll come back to haunt you. I'll send you an email.
Oh, 6/29, who's coming up?
Selena. I'm coming up, but school's closed on my birthday week. It's a holiday for my birthday, June 23rd.
You got like 5.
Did everybody?
My son.
Okay, let's see. So in terms of apraxia, let's look at the different types of apraxia. Did everybody, or those who choose to share their birthdays, everybody did? Or will? Limb apraxia.
Change mine. Mine's July 5th, just kidding.
Ashley's is July 4th, is that on it?
July 4th is a Saturday.
And-
We're off on Friday, but we're off anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Oh, we're getting extra 2 days off in,
Soon.
2 weeks.
Yay!
So that gives us, yeah. Yay, indeed. That's, again, taking off for my birthday. I've declared a holiday
Oh,
this year.
yay.
Limb apraxia, moving the wrong part of a limb, moving the correct part in the wrong way, or correct movements in the wrong sequence. Right? So those are learned skills, right? So that's for the limb. Callosal apraxia, let's see, apraxia of the left limb caused by damage to the anterior corpus callosum. Okay, think about pathway from hearing speech to following a command.
It only affects the left limb.
Well, yes, I don't know. Sympathetic apraxia, apraxia of left hand due to damage to the anterior left hemisphere, can't communicate to the right if it can't process from verbal channels. Why was it called sympathetic? You got me. Yeah. Left parietal apraxia of both limbs due to lesions of the posterior. I mean, I don't think you really need to know this detail.
If we don't know it, if we don't need to know it, let's not.
That's
go.
why I don't,
Right.
and if I find out that if the study notes say otherwise,
Fine.
then we'll deal with it, okay? Because some of this is just unnecessary.
It's a lot of information.
Right. You know, my daughter spends years studying just the brain.
7 to be exact.
7 years, and that's that's after she's gotten her medical degree. So that's for specialties.
But it does say to no Parkinson's.
I know, it says basal ganglia, no Parkinson's and Huntington's. Okay, so obviously Parkinson's and Huntington's
What is
must be
Huntington's?
affected by something happening with the basal ganglia. Parkinson, I know someone who has, and you probably all know, I know, I've actually worked on a musician who does kind of,
That's what Michael J. Fox had.
yes, well, Michael J. Fox has someone else I know has it tremors, right? And there's a musician, he's not playing anymore, but he's done tons of albums.
What does it do?
Dean Evenson. I don't know if you'll encounter him. Plays
Yeah. Like you should.
good meditation kind of music.
But isn't Parkinson's because you start losing the myelination and the nerve?
That's MS.
That's MS, but it's
Right.
not.
Parkinson it's definitely a problem. I don't know if it's synaptic or what.
But it's something where the nerves aren't communicating.
Or not communicating properly. The motor neurons, right?
Huntington's, I think I've heard like Huntington's chorea.
Chorea.
That's chorea.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is. So we should look it up. And it says cerebellum, no definitions in terms in bold, and section about lesions of the lateral zone. I don't know.
But I think I actually know.
Back up and look at that. Reticular formation.
I just have to-
I cut to
I didn't know editing was so nutritious.
my
Because I
notes,
eat them like crazy.
which I put together. Spinal cord, medulla oblongata.
Oblongata.
Oblongata. Let's see if we can get the picture of the brain back up there. Brain anatomy, no. Frontal cortex. There's the amygdala. All right, I'm looking from the bottom to the top with a piece that I pulled out. But let's talk about gray and white matter first. And then I'll give you a... Huh? No, I'm done with that.
We're done with this handout.
Weeds, yes.
Finally.
Yes, more than enough. Gray and white matter. We talk about gray and white matter in the brain.
Okay, sorry, wait.
We've heard
Is
of
this strictly
gray.
off of your notes?
Yeah, this is mine.
Okay.
Okay, so you may want to maybe jot down some notes because you'll see gray matter, it's not up there, and white matter in the brain. The gray matter largely corresponds to nerve cell bodies. The cell bodies that has you remember the nerve handout? Right?
Yes.
The nerve cell, right? So you remember the cell body, the axon, the dendrites, right? Okay, so the gray matter generally corresponds largely to collections of nerve cell bodies. White matter corresponds largely to the axons or the nerve fibers, right? The long strands, the nerves, emanating from the cell bodies, from the gray matter, right? And the neurons, right, are supported by glial cells. Glial, right? What's What's a glial? G-L. Glial. Glial. G-L-I-A-L. Glial cells. Glial is like glue. It's the glue. It's the
It says here that it's also called neuralgia.
neuroglia.
Neuroglia, I'm
Right,
sorry.
right. If you have neuralgia, you have pain of the nerves, right?
Algae.
Algae. But glial cells, they support. They're like they're supporting fibers. They provide support. Each neuron is surrounded by 10 to 50. Each neuron, right, is surrounded by 10 to 50 glial cells, which make up the bulk of the brain. They serve the neuron in several ways. They provide structural support.
What does?
Glial cells, right? That's what they comprises a lot of the brain. They provide structural support. They insulate longer neural branches with myelin, right? The insulator, what does the myelin do?
Myelin sheath.
Right. What's different if the axis of the neurons got the myelin sheath? It speeds up the speed of the message. To speed electric signals, right? It speeds up the electric signals down the axons. They help maintain nutrition. They aid in waste removal. They say it even lays down markers that lead the branches of a developing neuron to its proper destination. And they say a study of Albert Einstein's brain showed that he may have had an overabundance of glial cells. So, big brain? Not necessarily, but lots of glia. Lots of glue. It glues it all together. Let's see. Just a couple more things I'll read about gray and white matter. The gray matter comes in two varieties, according to one of these writers. In one variety, the neurons are layered as in a cake and form a cortex, right? As in the cerebral cortex, which covers the cerebral hemisphere of the brain, or its hemispheres, it's two sides, and the cerebellar cortex, which envelops the cerebellum. The second variety of gray matter, the neurons are not layered and are organized instead like, they say, cashew nuts inside a bowl, and they form a nucleus.
Yum.
Yum, yum.
Give me some cashew.
The best example of neurons organized as a cortex is the neocortex, often called the cerebral cortex, and that's our higher brain, right? That's the bulk of everything up there. Top, well, no, because you got the cerebellum here, but the prefrontal, the medial, prefrontal, all that is the cerebrum, the cerebral cortex. It says the intact brain pictured above. I don't have a picture above. I should have copied that too. I've got to have to stop tomorrow and pick up some more ink for my printer. Maybe some paper too. Where was I? Gray matter comes in two varieties. No, let's see. The intact brain pictured above is a good illustration. Great. Neocortex is folded in a way. This is significant. It's folded, right, in a way that allows a larger surface area to fit within the confines of the human skull. Anatomists call each cortical fold a sulcus. These may be terms you might need to know. And the smooth areas between the folds as a gyrus. Remember the gyrus that we talked about, the precentral gyrus? That's where the motor cortex is found. Okay, so between the gyri would be these sulcuses, the folds, right? And the brain is, the more folds it has, I think, potentially the smarter or the better it works. Yours, but it's not working lately. Some of them forgot how to work or out of practice. As with any other muscle, I know it's not a muscle, but if you don't, you lose it, use it or lose it, I say, right? So keep yourself stimulated, read, don't just sit there and be a vegetable and watch television. Right? I think one way or another,
Hey, go to the History Channel.
watch the History Channel, watch something. I'm not saying
Watch
that
cops.
yeah. Take a walk, exercise, blood, right? You got to get blood to the brain,
Watch the
right?
Kardashians.
That is not, right? That destroys,
Caitlyn.
Kardashians destroy the brain cells.
Yes, that
right?
is destroy
Right.
all your little
My
brain
son
cells.
says the Kardashians and ETV goes the destruction of society.
Okay, let me just,
What about white matter? If gray matter is layered, cortex, neo,
let's see, where was I?
What about the white matter?
What do I have on the white matter? Gray matter in two varieties.
Layered on layered.
The gray matter, white matter. White matter is largely the axons or nerve fibers emanating from the cell bodies in the gray matter. That's all I've got on white matter. Let me see.
Is one afferent and one efferent, or not?
I don't
necessarily?
think so, not necessarily, but I'm not sure.
Designated.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's a whole pizza.
Pizza, huh?
Well, I used to tell my students, if your phone rings in the class, then it's $1 and we put money into a kitty, and at the end of a term, we have a party. That was,
So you owe a lot of money.
Ew.
yes, that's right. I always contribute. I'll put this on stun, and hopefully whoever it is I don't recognize will leave a message. Want to hire me first thing in the morning.
Pronto.
Immediately, if not sooner. No, I've got, I have two clients. I have one in the afternoon and one later in the afternoon. So I've got room for somebody in the morning. I don't know what we're doing tomorrow, but Coach will let us know. And she wanted me to cover this.
Can we move?
That's it.
Sorry.
I don't know if we'll be downstairs tomorrow. We can be there, but if we don't have the privacy curtains, it becomes a little more difficult. There-
We'll all bring back
Well, there are ways to work around it. We have sheets you can change under,
Because
you
you know,
know.
when I did a workshop, a massage workshop, and we just undid underneath the sheet.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very easy.
There are plenty of ways to.
Learned skill.
There are plenty of ways to do that. So that's, as far as I'm concerned, we'll get in there and practice. I don't know, yeah, we'll get in there and practice.
We want answers.
You're in the wrong place.
All right, I've got a list of parts of the brain, and I'm going to work from the bottom up. I think I can work from the bottom up here, even though, okay, you've got the spinal cord, of course, right? We know
Let's hope.
right? But without it, yeah.
You'd be much more relaxed.
Yeah. I'm sorry. That was a little too much.
Think about that. Let's just excise your spinal cord. Forget about massage today. Just relax you forever. Okay. At the top of the spinal cord, you find the medulla, right? Some people call where's my notes? The medulla oblongata. Medulla. I'm sorry. Not medulla. Medulla oblongata.
Yeah, that.
Right, the spinal cord, right, we know comes up from taking information from the peripheral nerves, right, to the CNS, to the central nervous system. Some people call it the information superhighway of the human body because it carries information back and forth from the brain to the other parts of the body, the peripheral aspects of the body. The medulla oblongata helps control the body's autonomic nervous system. We understand the autonomic nervous system? Right? It's automatic. The term says it. Right? So can you control your breathing? Can you control your digestive system? Not unless you're a yogi.
I can
It's
control my digestive
involuntary.
system with Imodium.
With what?
Imodium.
Right. Well, we can circumvent the autonomic nervous system. Right? Here, I promised you a break, didn't I? And I'm not giving it to you. All right. Let's break for 5 minutes. Just you want to maybe reach to your partner, give somebody a little neck massage. Jump up and really, I'm serious. Why not? Right?
I need, what's the thing that hurt? Rhombus.
You need to work your
Your
rhombus.
rhomboids?
Rhomboids.
Your rhomboids.
Oh, I'm talking second grade math. Rhombus.
So we're taking 5-minute potty break. Get up, stand up, walk around, break.
Nobody wants to yell thinking.
You'll find all of these. I'm not gonna.
No, I found them.
Yeah,
I'm good.
you're not hard. Between this and
I feel like
the
I'm moving so much.
I
yeah,
found them right.
yeah, I knew
I
you
got
would.
them. But it's just hard because a couple of them I couldn't find.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I mean, these are supinators, I know that. I'm guessing that's a bicep, yeah, one of them, because it's truncheon, right?
Right, I would think so.
These, this one, I think it's the ulnaris longus. This is posterior.
kids stand up and do jumping jacks.
Not sure.
I'm not sure either about that one. This is anterior, so it's a flexor, right? This is anatomically here. This is it's a flexor.
Yeah, so it's a
flexor.
it's a digity
It's a digital.
flexor.
It's not radial, right?
No, it's not. Well,
Is it?
no, because it's coming from
No.
it's emanating from the
Radial.
medial. It looks like the medial. That's not epicondyle. Anyhow, it's emanating here medial on the
So this
ulnar, and it may also be It's definitely a flexor, right? This is anterior.
Hold on. Let me see my
It's a
paper.
digity.
So it's a flexor.
So what are the
These are
possibilities?
the possibilities here. So is it superficial?
Why the birthday girl
Or
showed up.
or profound, I don't know.
Is it today or was it Monday?
Today? What?
Flexor digitoria.
Still is today.
So it's one of the digits, right? Flexing.
Oh, here it is.
Here, look at it.
I got it. No, I got it. It's right here.
Yeah, look at it here.
Yeah, but I have it right here. It's right here. See?
It's flexor digitorum profundus.
So this one's wrong of mine, the first one.
It's digiti minimi, I think. No,
That's what I have. Digiti minimi
brevis.
brevis, yeah.
I think so.
So explaining this is the intergrossus membrane,
Right.
but the right here, so it's really the extensor,
Extensor.
right?
Okay, hold on. Get it back. Can't wait. I can see that.
So what's your age? What's your tender age?
So this is the membrane, this is the actual.
Oh my God.
Because that was talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, yeah.
So I
One
should
of the
just,
ones that we need to know.
I would
Yes,
take
it is.
42 back.
so do you want me to just?
39 again?
One of the-
Sorry. Tried 49
It's all-
again.
I'm doing the last page right now.
Okay, I didn't do that one, right?
It's all
So
between
this
the
one's
ears.
wrong.
It's between the ears. It's how you feel. It's not chronological.
Yeah.
What you do with it. It's how you eat. Not too much of that, you know. You don't want to open up a bag of potato chips and find out at the end of the night you finished them all. I mean, certainly some of it's
Page one.
genetic.
I think it's flexor
Digitorum.
digitorum.
Yeah, not torium.
I got auditorium.
Oh, netters. These are good netters. Netters is good.
Profunders.
I've got netters.
Profundus.
Profound, yeah, profound, as in, yep.
Like exponentially.
And that's on our list right here. You go.
Roll away. I said 5 minutes. Okay, one more minute, folks, and then we start. Here or not, we gotta go.
So anyway, so, while you're waiting, can you come here? So this guy right here,
Which guy?
this guy. So this is the, I know that's a Flexor Capri,
Carpi.
Ulnaris, because that's going on the ulnar side.
Yeah,
That one I'm
but
pretty confident
where is
about.
it going to?
wanted to talk to me because I don't know what to say. Like I'm so
It's right here.
I've never been so confused.
No, that's the extension. Here it is.
Yeah.
No, it's this one. It doesn't
Right,
say
it
where
doesn't show the tendon, but I
doesn't
guess
show where it's going on.
this is the tendon.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So this one right here, it's going to
Yeah, there you could see the tendon
the, and it's going to the,
to the thumb.
so it's a
Pollicis.
radial, it's a radial something, and this is posterior, right? Because of the way it's not this way, it's this way. So this is, usually they
Is it?
say what they are.
Yeah, probably did.
But see how the thumb is here? The thumb is here, so it has to be posterior. Okay, so if it's posterior,
If
it's
it's
an
a- if
extensor, right?
It's a left thumb.
You can't what?
And it's an extension.
Oh, my
Pollicis,
daughter.
it's the thumb.
That's not my,
So it is extensor pollicis longus.
my DVR up. Her
Probably.
DVR in my.
As opposed to brevis, which would be shorter. Okay, folks are back.
Yeah, she loves it too. All right. Am I picking?
Okay, brevis is long, brevis is shorter, longus is, of course, longer. Brevis is the shorty.
Which ones did you have a lot of? There was a lot of them that you had a hard time with because of the picture itself, or because the actual.
Not the location, no, just trying to, trying to match it up with the picture, yeah, so I don't have, one next to the later stack, I don't have that. That was a really different, because it goes, yes. But I'm looking at the forms right now. So this is,
Love the inquiry. Somebody wants to know about a Reiki healing session. Right?
so this
I'll
guy
call her
right,
back later.
Okay, so you know what the medulla oblongata is.
Yeah, okay, let us continue. Medulla oblongata, folks, let's go. The pons is next. Yes, is that what you said? Yes, the pons is next. Right, the medulla oblongata is up at the top of the spinal cord. It controls breathing, heart rate, blood pressure, right? Yeah, autonomic. The pons above the medulla oblongata, also part of the hindbrain, plays, let's see here, regulates sensory information and facial expressions.
I have no idea.
That I didn't. My notes also say it plays a role in your level of consciousness or arousal as well as sleep. So this is hindbrain-ish area. And again, my notes here say regulate sensory information and facial expressions, the pons. The cerebellum, that we've gone over in some detail, right? Chiefly related to movement, right? Used a lot when infants, toddlers are learning how to walk, right? They're learning. Also coordinates posture and balance. Let's see, her notes say movement, coordination, balance, muscle tone, learning motor skills. The reticular formation. We talked about the reticular, what did she call it in here? RAS, the reticular activating system. I'm guessing has something to do with the reticular formation. A network of nerves extends from the medulla to the cerebrum, monitors the general level of activity in the hindbrain, and maintains a state of arousal. That's not sure by that they mean awake, not sexual arousal, right? Essential in the regulation of sleep and wakefulness. That makes sense. I mean, to a certain extent, you could say, okay, I'm going to wake up at, and maybe you're telling your tonight, I think we can program an alarm clock, an internal alarm clock.
That never happened.
No way, man.
That would never happen. If I tell myself wake up at 8 o'clock a.m.,
Your other
and
self
I wake
has
up,
to
it's
be
like
like,
12
bitch,
o'clock
shut
noon. I can
Really,
never
it
do
doesn't
that
work.
at all.
Generally, I know I want to get up at a certain time. I wake up like a minute before the alarm goes off,
Oh, lucky
and I
you.
don't
I only
set
do that
an
if
alarm.
the alarm
I
is
need
set.
the
If the
alarm.
alarm
Oh,
is
yeah.
not
If
set,
Right.
I'm not waking up.
I'm sleeping. If it's just set, I'll wake up right before. Because
Well,
my brain knows stuff I
It
don't
must be the
even know.
reticular formation. Yeah, the brain knows more than you think it knows. Okay, moving along. Let's see. The midbrain,
Writer's
superior and inferior colliculus, above the pons between the hindbrain and the forebrain. And look this stuff up. I mean, I've got this. A lot of it is in this book that I know is not ours, but there are sources in the library, online. I mean, there's tons of stuff out there. Her handouts are great, but I think you need. It's helpful if you can find stuff like this. Right? In addition to, well, for some reason our book doesn't have the our textbook doesn't include this. Okay, let's see.
So what do you have for the midbrain?
What do I have for the midbrain? I've got, above the pons and between the hindbrain and forebrain, relays sensory information from the spinal cord to the forebrain, right? So it's moving info up. This is the midbrain. Makes sense. It's situated between the two, right?
And it just
It's
sends information.
since it's a relay, sensory information, right? It's not sending,
Sensory relay.
right? It's not motor.
So it doesn't necessarily change it, increase it, decide where it goes?
No, it's just sending. It's a relay system. Yep. As far as I can tell you. Okay, the pineal gland. Right? We know where it's located. It's on top of the midbrain, behind the thalamus. Right? You know, my notes say the third. We can connect to it through our third eye, but it's behind. This is where I need an illustration.
Pituitary gland?
Sorry. Yeah, it's. Let's see. We can see the brain stem.
You could also look it up online. It's not in the book.
That's where I go.
Oh.
Absolutely. Okay. Here's the diencephalon cerebellum and brain stem, and here you can see the midbrain, the brain stem, which consists of the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla. Right. You see this? I'll walk around with it again. One of these days I'll get familiar enough with this. I've got to practice with it at home. I'm going to get some of the same materials and use it on my laptop, and then figure out how to do it here. So anyhow, here's our brain stem, right? So you got this cord, the pons in the middle, and then the midbrain, and then above that you've got the pineal and the pituitary gland. People talk about the pineal gland when they go like this. It's not here. It's deep inside the brain. It's very, right? But we can stimulate. I mean, I truly believe when I do reflexology on someone's big toe, I stimulate the pituitary gland, and I can help bring the person into a parasympathetic state. Especially when I lift the head, right? I lift the head, and I make a connection. I'll show you the way I do that. And some of you may already do it in your massage work, in your body work. Here, I can pass this around if this will help. The illustration from the artist that I'm referring to. Okay, and I want to talk about the limbic system, which I will get to in a minute.
Do you have something that tells you what the pineal gland does? Does it do the same thing as the pituitary?
It involves circadian and circannual rhythms, possibly involves the maturation of the sex organs. So that's at some point, maybe at puberty, the pineal gland has a contributing factor. It's a contributing factor. It may secrete the hormones or trigger the hormonal release.
Need to go to the testicular glands.
Yeah, yes.
Descend.
Or may tell the testicles to descend,
Yeah.
hair to grow, right? This stimulating this is all endocrine system factors. I'm going to cover the limbic system in a minute. The thalamus is in the middle of the limbic system, which we'll get to. Relays incoming information, except for smell, to the appropriate part of the brain for further processing. I mean, there's so much going on in there. It's not just one big...
So that's a relay also?
Yes, it seems to be.
The thalamus.
Because then you have the hypothalamus and the pituitary. The hypothalamus is, hypo means under the thalamus. This is all in the middle of the brain, right? All well protected. The hypothalamus and the pituitary gland regulates basic biological drives, hormonal levels, sexual behavior. This is a big one. Autonomic functions such as hunger, thirst, and body temperature. So you don't have a whole lot of control over this. You don't have you don't have a whole lot of control over your arousal. You know, it's primal.
Well, isn't arousal voluntary? No.
It just
To a
depends.
certain extent, it depends.
Let's be real.
Enough said.
Exactly. Kind of like, I need a moment.
And again, don't forget, you may have a guy on your table someday, and the penis becomes tumescent. See, thinking about that? No, something.
So is it rude?
No, not at all. Well,
Throw some cold water on it.
ideally, you've got a sheet, right? You're covered with a sheet. Or some sort of drape,
Because I
right?
mean, like, if you're a massage therapist and you see that, it's gonna like throw off, like your balance, because you're not expecting it. So wouldn't that like throw you off, or
I think-
I don't know.
Only if you let it. Only if you let it. It's really up to you how you respond. Because if you respond in horror, then they're not going to be too happy about that. They certainly, a guy is probably going to be aware, or maybe not. They could fall asleep on the table, right? And still become tumescent, somewhat tumescent. I mean, fact is, what we do feels good, right? I hope. Yes, sometimes you go in and we're digging deep and there's some trigger points and there's some pain involved, but ultimately, when we're able to release that tension or the energy block, the adhesion, they're going to relax and begin to let go. Okay, moving right along. What else? Sorry, where am I?
It's gonna be like another half an hour. We only have half.
I've got the hippocampus. I've got the optic chasm.
So what part of the brain?
The hypothalamus is beneath the thalamus.
Isn't there something in here that's the thymus?
That's the thymus, close thymus. Yeah, which is of does very little once you reach, I'm not sure what point. It's involved in maturity, it's involved in puberty, I believe, but after a certain point, it's very little. Yeah, it does very little. There's still something going on there, but not so much. Yeah, the optic, I have the optic chasm. Here they have chiasm. I think it's chasm, but I'm not sure.
No, it might be.
It could CHIASM. Yeah, it might be. In front of the pituitary. It involves left-right optic nerves. It's a crossover point because, again, when we see upside down and back, I mean, it's amazing how the brain reinterprets what's beamed to the back because the eye, the visual cortex or visual area is at the back.
And that's anterior to the pituitary gland?
It's, yes, it's anterior to the pituitary, in front of the pituitary, anterior, good. The septum is adjacent to the hypothalamus, that means it's right next to it, and it stimulates sexual pleasure.
Septum?
The septum. The septum is a division. The hippocampus is found within the temporal lobe, or lobes. Remember, it's two hemispheres. And the hippocampus is involved with learning and memory formation.
And you said the septum is sexual?
Yeah, it stimulates sexual pleasure.
So that's the area of the brain that controls that?
Well, it stimulates it. It's a control. I think there are a number of places where sexual stimulation will come to bear,
would that be
right?
like a
Visual, yeah.
So would that go back to the nerve ending sending a message to something and
Yeah. Now, the first one is internal.
Yeah.
did my work? Because we learned about the senses in the beginning of our anatomy.
Mhm.
So I was wondering. Remember the sense, like when you get burned and then the nerve sends the message to the brain and then there's certain...
Right, the effort and,
Yeah.
and the motor neuron. Well, in this case, it's not, you're not involving motor neurons, effort neurons in that sense, but you're stimulated
Yeah.
and blood flows,
So it's
right,
like-
to the clitoris or to the penis or other parts of the, right? Well, this is what happens, right? It sounds very clinical and hopefully it's not afferent.
It's afferent.
Yeah. Let's see, the hippocampus, we said, mediates learning and memory formation. The amygdala, which is in front of the hippocampus, is responsible for anxiety, emotion, and fear. We heard a lot about the amygdala. And we have the mammillary body and the fornix. I don't know what they are. Linked to the hippocampus, they have a role in emotional behavior, learning, and motivation. I think we're all dealing with the limbic system here, which I'll get to. I keep promising that, and I will before I take you home. The basal ganglia, the caudate, the nucleus, the putamen, the globus pallidus. I don't know any of these terms other than basal ganglia. Found outside the thalamus, involves movement, emotions, planning, and integrating sensory information. So this is all higher learning. Planning is higher anyway. You got ventricles in the central canal. We haven't talked about the pia mater, the dura mater, and the arachne mater, which I don't think I'll get to tonight. I'll see. Maybe I'll pick it up in here. Let's see.
sensory reception.
The ventricles and central canal, the tiny runs from the central canal within the spinal cord to the enlarged hollows within the skull, which are called ventricles. Right, we haven't gone into detail with those. You probably may have seen illustrations of this. Yes, I hope.
And now
Okay.
And this is just a place where cerebral spinal fluid?
Yes, the cerebral spinal fluid circulates,
So
right?
it's just a place for the circulation.
And what does it do? The cerebral spinal fluid is going to provide nutrients to the brain. It's going to take away waste products. Right? Don't forget, you've got, without oxygen, brain's gone. Right? Very, very quickly. The blood flow there is vital. Let's see. Yeah, they fill with cerebrospinal fluid for mechanical protection, it says. Yeah, there's probably a buffer there in terms of the fluid as well. So there's a mechanical aspect. But it does, cerebrospinal fluid does a lot more than just protect mechanically. And then we have the cingulate gyrus above the corpus callosum. Concentrates attention on adverse internal stimuli such as pain, contains the feeling of self. Well, now you're talking about the mind-body connection. You know, where does the self begin and other? It gets, we're getting into psychology.
How do they find out?
How do we find out?
How do they find out?
Well, they cut out a piece of the.
Colosseum is in charge of the feeling of self.
They probably cut out a piece of it. Suddenly the self is gone or something. You know what I mean? Or injuries. Right? I mean, they dissect beyond cadavers. How would you know unless it's, yeah, I would think, because a cadaver, working on a cadaver won't tell you anything, but by stimulating a part of the brain or by cutting it out. What's the surgery?
Stuff, I think they do that.
What?
I think with seizure issues, they do.
Yeah, they might have
Do
to.
something in the brain.
And I was like,
Oh my God. Like severe. They do something in the brain.
Yeah. They do something to interrupt that electrical storm that's occurring there. But in terms of the self, you know, and memories, there's an area of the brain that's long-term memory. Where does that? How does that work? I mean, it really is it's a miracle going on in here. It's good that we have a hard head because it's pretty delicate. Okay. The human, the forebrain, we're dealing with the frontal lobe, right? Our conscious brain, right? Controls. Here's our voluntary movement, our thinking, and our feeling, right? To what extent does it control thinking and feeling? Sometimes we can't stop thinking. We like to say, stop, I have no control over this. And we certainly do control voluntary movement here. And we've talked about that, what do we call it, the focus, pre-central gyrus, right? The motor area. The prefrontal cortex in front of the frontal lobe. That's what that's our higher, we do our higher thinking, right? Inhibits inappropriate actions. So you learn what not to do there. Forms plans, you can think in concepts, helps to focus attention and bestows meaning to perceptions. I mean, what is the world if it's not what we perceive? You know, is my reality the same as your reality? Not always. The parietal lobe, it says in top rear of the head, contains primary somatosensory area that manages skin sensations. Okay, so we have dermatomes throughout that correspond to nerves that emanate actually from the spinal cord, but start up here, that relate to all the parts of the often same parts of the body that the viscera, the organs, are relating to. Sometimes you'll get sensation on the outside of the body that's not close to an organ, but is responding to something wrong in an organ, right? A spleen or anything. But in any case, the somatosensory area manage skin sensation itself. Our sense of touch stems from the parietal lobe. The occipital lobe, we know, right? I don't know why it is, but the eyes are up here, but we see back here, right? That's when my mother used to say, I have eyes in the back of my head, you can't get away with it. Right? Now I know she did. Okay, it's the visual cortex manages vision, and the temporal lobe, each side of the head above the temples. There you have the auditory cortex for hearing and speech. That's the human brain in 2 hours, 3 hours, or less. Let's see, the limbic system I haven't talked about, but I did. Oh, let's see if there's anything I miss. I'm going to go over this real quickly. The limbic system, the part of the brain that's the emotional epicenter of the human brain. It helps form memories, integrates emotion with memories, so that you have a reference point to those memories, right? Positive or negative. So limbic system is involved with emotions. So that's where most of our value judgments, our unconscious value judgments, are created. It plays a big role in how creative and spontaneous human beings are, and what we regard as agreeable or disagreeable. Now, I've got a whole list of what's within the limbic system. The amygdala, you mentioned that, right? Because from emotions in the amygdala are primarily produced or fear. Amygdala holds the emotion of fear. And the response is the heartbeat increases, right? If you're afraid, right? Your sympathetic nervous system is kicking into action. Sweaty palms, you might freeze, right? Fight or flight, or just like, oh, what do I do now? And then you go, well, maybe you do think, but you can't think for too long if you're going to get away from whatever that threat is or that's making you fearful. I mentioned the hippocampus, where memories are created, formed, and classified. That's the primary function of the hippocampus, is to create memories and store them. Long-term memory in the hippocampus. Okay? So that's within the limbic system.
Hippocampus is where memories are created.
Long-term memories, yes. Where they're created and stored. Where if they're stored, they become long-term memories, right? I mean, it's amazing how sometimes you can bring up something that occurred almost a lifetime ago. How far back do you remember?
How about the stuff like you can't remember something from 20 minutes ago, but you can remember song lyrics from when you were 14 years?
Yeah, stuff like that happens. The brain also, it protects itself. If you're in an accident, right, a traumatic accident, and I know someone very well who had a brain injury from a bicycle accident. She's, sort of fine today. She has no memory of the accident itself. The brain will not store that memory. It's protecting you from the trauma of the accident or from reliving it. Let's see.
We didn't get any handouts at all on the limbic system?
No, I know. I thought you had. But that's why I've got what little I have of it.
Nothing.
Well, she might. I didn't go looking for it. She's talked about the limbic system, which is what prompted me to do a little bit of research there.
So it's the amygdala, the hippocampus.
That's what I got. The amygdala and the hippocampus. And then from here it goes on to talk more about the human brain is a vastly complex organ. I may have cut something out.
The adrenal glands aren't involved in the...
The what?
The adrenal glands aren't involved in...
No. I mean, they could be involved in directing what to do as the hormones, right?
But
They're
they're
not neurochemicals. They're moving more slowly through the bloodstream.
So they're more of the
adrenal
endocrine system and not the...
Of the endocrine system, exactly. Yeah. But they could be stimulated by the nervous system to that's why they work together. But the hormones move much more slowly. I mean, they still move pretty fast through the blood system, but the nerves, it's feels like the speed of light that you were.
Shouldn't have hers on stun, I guess.
Oh, it's
No, that's
not me.
Sorry, it's mine.
Okay, yeah, I've got plenty of what should we call it? Memory. What should we call it? Oh boy, I couldn't have done that better if I tried. I'll keep that for next year. I'm going to save that one. I'll remember that one now. On that note, we should go home. Yeah, I said I got plenty of.
He goes, he's talking about his phone, something about it. He goes, I got plenty of
I was on my phone. What is it that they call you? Oh, memory, right. I couldn't remember. My memory. Oh, boy.
That's bad. This system is very simple. It's just
Seems
the
to me.
load, they have a
Right, it's where your emotions.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think chances are we could do a 50-page paper on the limbic system.
Well, yeah, because the amygdala,
That's not-
Yeah.
all the different things about
Yeah.
it.
Okay, let's see.
Oh, that was funny.
Let's see if I can get through. So these are my own notes that I pulled on the cortex. Let's see. First, you have the human brain. This is another. Different parts of the human brain contribute to the overall health and well-being of humans. Duh. First, you have the human brain as a whole, and the spinal cord. They make up what we call the CNS, central nervous system. In terms of what it looks like, most people know it's composed of gray, wrinkled matter. The wrinkles are actually called the cortex. Within the cortex is where most of the neurons of human brain cells call home. That's good. Cortex composed of additional parts, which we call lobes, right? 4 main lobes: the frontal lobe, the temporal cortex, temporal lobes, all right, frontal lobes, where we do our complex, higher thinking, right? That's the human brain, the mammalian brain. We do our reasoning, our problem solving, our planning. If I'm planning to go on a trip, I do tour planning. I used to run a bicycle tour in the business. As a matter of fact, so I'm really good at that, and I make my own maps. So that's my right brain part. Anyhow, the temporal cortex, that's where the memories are, if we can remember what they are, and learn to process auditory sounds. That's close, because the ears, the auditory meatus, right, goes in that direction. The occipital cortex, occipital lobe, that's where we process everything we visualize as well as what we see. So it's not just what we're seeing, but if somebody says, okay, close your eyes and visualize an apple, right? A red apple. You can do that. That's happening back here. That's according to my notes. And the parietal cortex helps you integrate, file away, store, and make sense of all the information that's besieging the human brain. It's amazing that we can keep it all together sometimes. Let's see, these are the major parts. Human brain can be broken down into dozens of subcategories. Yeah, we just did that. We got the hind brain. We know that's, in a sense, the reptilian brain, the old brain. Yeah, in fact, it's called here. Read ahead. The part that has been with mankind for millions of years, called the reptilian brain, and needless to say, it derives from how closely related in anatomy it is to the brain of a dinosaur or a reptile, a snake. Go think about it. Commands the basic functions, right? The instinctive stuff, things you don't have to be taught, such as mating, dominance, survival, right? Primal instincts. Respiration, and of course the respiration, heartbeat. We talked about that. And you can divide the hindbrain into further parts, and here we're doing that here, which is the hypothalamus, the thalamus, because you got appetite, thirst, homeostasis, circadian rhythms. Here you got pituitary gland links to all of this. The thalamus, the relay station, we talked about that. And the big part, the neocortex. That's gives us our human so-called qualities, differentiates us from other higher level mammals. It's where we get our consciousness, our ability to develop language, use imagination, and to think abstractly. That's all happening in the cerebrum, right? In the new cortex is the idea. Neocortex, neoconservative, new conservative. We've heard the term neo, meaning new.
Classical.
Neonatal.
Neoclassical would be new classical, right? So.
But you're listed that as part of the hindbrain.
No, I'm sorry. No, this is.
The hindbrain ended with the
Yeah, it must be. The hindbrain should have ended with.
hypothalamus.
And the thalamus, yeah.
Thalamus.
Right, yeah.
And
The
it's
neocortex, yeah. The
The
neocortex.
pituitary gland was part of that also, or?
I don't, because I think the pituitary, let me see.
I think that's the forebrain.
Right, or the mid.
No, actually.
No.
So that's part of the hindbrain.
Let's see. Vision, smell.
Pituitary is in the back.
Yeah.
So the pituitary, thalamus, and hypothalamus are the neocortex.
Well, the neocortex is the cerebrum, essentially, and the prefrontal cortex is part of the neocortex. That's the most. So let's see if I could just read that. Because the neocortex, we separate into the frontal, the temporal, the occipital, and the parietal. And the frontal or prefrontal is the most advanced section of that. Right? Two hemispheres that divide it, right and left. Right? And we know that they control opposite sides of the body. And some people are right-brained and left-brained. Some we call more creative people, the right-brained people. But I think ideally you find a balance
Right in the middle.
between the two. Yeah, but the right.
She's voicing a Pegasus over there.
Oh, please.
That would have been bad luck for this.
Yeah, I've almost knocked it over myself.
It's not, of course, it's not.
No, but still, whatever. It seems like ceramic. It's heavy. Yeah.
Really?
What's that?
Laser buddy.
Yeah, let's keep it away from the edge.
It was like.
Put it in the middle of the desk or something, really. Because I've almost knocked it over, and that would be bad karma with Sandra, all right? I don't need that.
Oh, gosh, yeah, don't forget your eggs.
What's that?
I told him not to forget his eggs.
His baby chickens.
His eggs.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
Okay. So do you sell your eggs?
Sometimes when we have a lot.
Yeah, let me know. I don't eat eggs often, but I eat eggs maybe once a week. But there's nothing like it. Occasionally I buy.
But what we do sell is honey.
Yeah?
We have honey, we have bees.
Yeah, I have a friend who has well, all right, now we know honey and eggs. See, Rebecca.
Sell her honey and her eggs.
So you jar, you bottle the honey.
I mean, I do it 3 times.
All right, I was supposed to try to cover kinesiology. We didn't go anywhere near it, other than to say, do we know what kinesiology is?
I know it's the study of something.
It's the study of movement.
Oh, study of.
So it's the study of how we move, how we coordinate, how proprioception, the joints, all the stuff that we're talking about, but we go into more detail. I've got kinesiology books. I brought something to lecture for kinesiology if I had gotten to it, but here we. That would be another 2 hours at least. Okay, so let's call it a night. I assume that the coach will be back tomorrow.
Is there anything we need to know for tomorrow, or?
Girl?
Touch on kinesiology, maybe.
Well, I don't think, because we've touched on kinesiology by joints, the different types of joints. Kinesiology involves planes of movements,
sorry.
axis.
Pardon me.
Yeah, we've covered it to a certain extent. We go into greater depth at some point in time. Oh my God, can we ever? You spend a lifetime just. Well, kinesiology involves athletics, sports. Okay, tomorrow, same time, same station, and I don't know what we're doing, but we'll figure it out. Let me see. Yeah, but yeah, wait for her tomorrow. Let me just see if she told me anything else I should know. Oh, give back the graded quiz.
Oh,
Graded them.
you did?
I don't know.
Oh, my bad.
I don't want to know.
No, I do want to know because I think I got them pretty much right.
Yeah, but I don't know what she
What
I
you
know
did with
that
them?
one right,
did with them.
but not number one.
Otherwise,
You know, you can give it to us tomorrow. We'll be here.
Oh, wait till tomorrow.
yeah, I don't see them anywhere. It was the first thing I looked for when I came in.
They're not under here? Here they are. There's me right
Ah.
there. Thank you.
Cleverly hidden.
Well, mine's not even graded.
Well then,
But I got 100%. I know I did.
so don't worry about it. We'll give it back tomorrow.
I missed that one.
Okay, it's all right. I forgot.
You don't mind. We give them back.